624-8565. These two lines will bring you to the floor of the People's Parliament. Moving to the second concern. So, prior to the era of the non-fuel subsidy, Nigerians were having a field time. The federal government allegedly, with the federal government rather, substituting or paying some amount of money for fuel to be sold at a reduced cost for Nigerians. On the 29th of May 2023, at the swearing-in ceremony, President Ahmed Bola Tinubu announced the era of fuel subsidy is over. And of course, what we saw was the immediate change in the pump price by the NNPCL on the 30th, which led to fuel being sold at 515 naira and above across the different states of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Well, yesterday, Nigerians woke up in the morning and bought fuel still at 500 plus. And of course, by noon, after the announcement by the NNPC of fuel now selling at 617 naira in Abuja and Lagos and other places, we saw a skyrocketing effect of fuel hike. In Akwa Ibom State here, for instance, filling station was sold at 520 naira in the morning, sold as high as 650 naira in the afternoon. And then this morning, we've heard that in places like Anambra State, we are seeing fuel sold at 700 naira per litre. We're looking at the repercussion of these on Nigerians. Already, the cost of transportation is very high. Already, cost of food products and is very also high already. Nigerians are still grappling with understanding and navigating the changes brought about by the fuel subsidy. And we're also talking about the 8,000 naira plan palliative of the federal government led by President Ahmed Bola Tinubu. But let's get to hear about your thoughts this morning. Good morning, parliamentarian. Welcome to the plenary. I can't hear you, parliamentarians. I have to let you go, but please, once you call, do ensure to send down the volume of your radio set or walk away from it so parliamentarians can get to hear you and, of course, thus be able to respond to your comments and contributions on the floor of the People's Parliament this morning. And, of course, we'll be looking at some of the comments that we have on a Facebook page, taking this side by side with your call. Good morning, parliamentarian. Welcome to the plenary. I'm sorry, I have to let you go. Can barely hear you there. But please try and connect us back. Probably some poor network interference there. On the Facebook page, Parliamentarian Udeme Megaibo says, the People's Parliament. Mr. Speaker, it's so sad that we are now suffering because of fuel subsidy removal due to the failure of our past leaders to have put things in place before now. There is no excuse why Nigeria should not have at least 10 functional refineries by now. But the question is, should we continue lamenting that fuel subsidy shouldn't have been removed by President Bola Tinubu, or we bear the suffering now for the benefits of our future generations? Thank you. Well, it's a valid question that you asked. Should we continue suffering? Should we continue lamenting that fuel subsidy should not have been removed or bring back fuel subsidy? Or we suffer now for future generation, of course, for those of us who will be blessed to live long enough to see the impact of the removal of fuel subsidy. But then don't forget, there's also been a question of what has been done so far with the amount of money the federal government has told Nigerians they have been able to recover as a result of fuel subsidy. Parliamentarian Hope Umo Jr. says, the People's Parliament. Good morning, Mr. Speaker. As the governor of the state, he has the right to limit or control whoever visits or who he gives attention to. He shouldn't be distracted by these self-centered politicians. He should concentrate on maintaining the altitude he has now. As for fuel and its scarcity, I feel having modular refineries in all the oil-producing states will mitigate this hardship. Very serious conversations there. There have been those conversations on the part of Akwa Ibomites on the need for Akwa Ibom State to have its own operational refineries ongoing and started. And, of course, for the present administration to look in the area of investing into building a refinery. I recall having some conversations with high-powered people in Akwa Ibom State and talked about some move that was thwarted during the architect Obamota's administration, which was actually aimed at establishing a state-owned refinery. But of course, political sentiments came into play and interface, and that couldn't happen. But in the event that that actually happens, many have said it will drastically change the narrative, not just for Akwa Ibomites, but also for Nigeria. And that is something that the Pastor Umo Eno's administration needs to look at in the area of investment. Still on the Facebook page, Dazi Hadi Raphael says, "Good morning, Mr. Speaker and all parliamentarians. Mr. Speaker, His Excellency President Tinubu and others concerned should really address the issue of the fuel increase in price. It has negatively affected the common man. Transport fare has now increased. Commodity prices has increased too. Definitely, the transport fare has increased. We saw that happening across the different states of the Federation. But then there are two concerns to this. While Melekari has told Nigerians that the result in the pump price hike or increment is as a result of market forces playing out, which they had told Nigerians with the removal of fuel subsidy, the price will be stabilized or determined or predetermined by market forces. But then there's also the aspect of petroleum market is not having conscience, not being morally standing right in terms of what they do. And as far as this is concerned, the question of exploiting Nigerians has come into play. And the fact that the Nigerian Consumer Protection Council and the Nigerian Consumer Protection Act has not been enforced by the relevant government agencies. In the event that this had been done, then people who definitely had these stocks of petroleum products long before yesterday have no moral backing to have also changed the prices of their commodities when they're yet to take in the new stock and purchase the new stock at the new price. So it comes down to a question of individual responsibility and what we are able to do. It's one thing for Nigerians to keep saying, the government officials are corrupt, our leaders are corrupt. What about you? What are you doing in that small cubicle in the office environment that you're sitting in? What about you that is selling in the street? What about you that is selling in the refill station? Are you doing your part of being sincere, being honest, and treating the next person right? Or you're also exploiting Nigerians? If you're doing that, then you're also part of the problem of the corruption that we are talking about in Nigeria. And unless we all take that individual responsibility, definitely Nigeria, Akwa Ibom State will head no way. But let's welcome more conversations on the phone line. Good morning, parliamentarians. Welcome. Yes, you have the floor. Welcome, Federal Mind. Go ahead. All right, thank you very much, Parliamentarian. But let's get one thing clear. It is not the governor first who is going to hear the prayers. These motions moved in the House of Assembly have to go through the legislative process and, of course, get to a logical conclusion before being forwarded to the executive, which, of course, will fall on the table of Governor Pastor Umo Eno. I'd like to ask if these prayers of Honorable Selong also constitutes the road project, the bridge that is almost in a collapsing state that was mentioned on the floor of the Parliament yesterday. I think we lost connection there. Hello, good morning. Welcome to the plenary. Sorry, Parliamentarian, I could barely hear you. Your name and where you're calling from? All right, briefly, please. That should be your second take. Go ahead. All right, thank you very much indeed. Welcome development, taking into consideration the different things that these might possibly spin up. But Nigerians, some group of Nigerians are not very excited about the review by the presidency. Many have said they would wait to see what the reviewed plans would be. And of course, President Ahmed Bola Tinubu has said the entirety of the plan should be revealed to Nigerians upon the review so that everybody will have full grasp of what the federal government plans to do as far as palliative is concerned. Heading back to our Facebook page, Parliamentarian Douglas Peters says, the People's Parliament, good morning. If Nigeria is a prosperous nation and government decided to support the poor, unemployed and give them 8,000 naira monthly, and that would be very kind and nice of them. But in this case, Nigeria is in a very bad economic crisis that brought extreme poverty and hardship in Nigeria. And I think the government should use that money very well, create sources of revenue so that it would benefit the poor masses in the rural and urban areas. Douglas from Benin. Many thanks, Parliamentarian Douglas from Benin. Truly appreciate you joining us on the floor of the Parliament this morning. Hello, good morning. Welcome to the plenary. Lost connection. Good morning. Welcome to the People's Parliament. Okay, so Federal Mike, I asked a question before you you left on the floor of the Parliament. So tell me, the motion moved by Honorable Precious Selong, does it constitute the bridge along, I think, Mbukwe-Ogan axis that was brought to the floor of the House that is almost in a collapsing state? Okay, I just needed to clarify that. Thank you very much. Do you have any other contributions you'd like to make? Okay, definitely. The Nigerians, acquired ones at this point, are looking for people who actually give effective, efficient, time, truly tested, people-focused representation, but at the national and state houses of assembly, of course, the executive arm of government, and of course, in extension, inviting the legislature, the judiciary, to also do their part so that we can have a harmonized society. But thank you very much. We'll keep in touch and keep monitoring the development. Of course, you get to see where the motion moved by Precious Selong will lead to. Getting back to our Facebook page, Parliamentarian Sebon Udo says the People's Parliament, all protocol duly observed. My name is Parliamentarian Sebon Udo Akpan. I represent the good people of Ibom local government area. Where are we going at this point as a country? Fuel is being sold at 617 naira. official government price. We were told NNPC is a private limited company, but now they are the one regulating the price of fuel. 10 more people to be granted license to import petroleum products. When are we going to hear that various individual has been given licenses to refine petroleum products in Nigeria? Very big question. Seriously, Nigeria as a country has come to a standstill. 500 billion for palliative, 70 billion to National Assembly to support working conditions, 19.2 billion naira for agriculture, 35 billion for National Judicial Council, and 10 billion for FCT. Oh, Nigeria, which way forward in an unjust society? Silence is a crime. Well, one thing you've gotten correct there is that staying silent in Nigeria and any society is inimical to our collective growth and development. But let's get back to the phone lines. Parliamentarian, good morning. Welcome to the plenary. Yes, welcome.
Thank you for having me to this plenary. I'm Comrade Striker. Mr. Speaker, looking at the four motions on the order paper this morning, I want to speak specifically on motion number 2. Concerns soar as fuel price hit 617 naira per litre. Mr. Speaker, on the recent increase of price of petrol to above 600 naira across the country, let it be on record that the Nigerian government is implementing their policies in a way and manner that has brought undue government-induced hardship on the citizens, while those in government fix funds on the nation's resources. Mr. Speaker, after Nigerians have survived President Buhari's tenure, Nigerians did not expect what they are currently facing in the few months old Tinubu's tenure, with an increase in fuel price twice in less than 2 months into President Tinubu's tenure, which has resulted in unprecedented hardship on Nigerians. And I can say for sure that with the way things are going, Nigerians may default to buy fuel at the rate of 1,000 naira before this year's run out, with the way and the logic that the government is using. But one thing I can assure those in government, Mr. Speaker, is the fact that there's a limit to what Nigerians can tolerate and endure. Because Nigerians are seeing currently before their eyes the affluent lifestyle of those in government who are using government privilege. Even those that direct us to buy fuel at more than 600 naira are using free fuel because of the privilege of their position. Mr. Speaker, there is a limit to the patience of Nigerians who may react very soon against the government if this situation is not addressed immediately. Because, Mr. Speaker, from the street, I can tell you that the boys are not smiling. I'm Comrade Eno Decries. Thank you for having me.
Thank you very much, Parliamentarian Striker, for joining us. Well, Nigerian leaders have known prior to or shortly after the NSAS protest of 2020 that Nigerians are no longer sitting by the fence. And if there is any lessons that Nigerian politicians must have learned also during the just concluded national elections, has been the fact that Nigerians are very much aware and will always hold government officials accountable. And of course, it is no longer going to be business as usual, because they also know that voting a politician into power is resident with the Nigerian populace. Of course, in the event that you underperform or you fail to perform to meet the expectations of Nigerians, you won't be voted back into that position. So Nigerian politicians, a lot of analysts would say, are a lot more proactive in what they do as far as their constituents is concerned. Of course, they know failure to do that, the effects of what that might be on their political career. Recall the mantra that made waves during the just concluded elections: vote out unperforming politicians, vote in new blood. And we have seen for the first time in a long time in the history of Nigeria an array of new bloods, voted into the different political offices. But let's head back to our Facebook page and take some more comments before we head out to our second recess. Of course, Parliamentarian Francis Price says, good morning, Mr. Speaker. In my opinion, the money saved from the removal of fuel subsidy should be channeled into the revamping of the local refineries and construction of new ones instead of the proposed 8,000 naira palliative. If the hiking fuel price comes down, the entire economic downturn will witness a positive change. But the 8,000 naira, which may not even go to the people that is proposed for, will not in any way alleviate the suffering of Nigerians. Let the federal government remember that Nigerians are suffering and we need a solution on the long term, not short-term palliative. God bless Nigeria. We'll take a pause here on the note of Parliamentarian Francis Praise. We will be bringing you BBC The World in 2 minutes, a few commercials, and then we'll return to the floor of the People's Parliament on the flip side of 9:30 to wrap up our conversation. Stay with us, parliamentarians.
Political meaning to the point that truth and justice become secondary considerations. If you cannot reason beyond petty sentiments, you are a liability to mankind. These are the words of late Dr. Chuba Okadibo.
Information and entertainment make a good collabo on Planet Radio 101.1 FM.
Business exists only to meet the needs of the people. But there's an extra advantage if your product and services are pitched on a platform that gives you the added advantage over your competitors. For your desired return on investment and so much more, advertise on Spectrum Television, on StarTimes DTH Channel 421, and on Free-to-Air with a frequency of 12733. Spectrum Television, broadening your horizon.
This is Planet in partnership with the BBC, and now BBC Minute.
BBC News with Emily Thomas. The winner of Thailand's recent general election is making a second attempt to form a new government. Parliament is voting on whether to make Pita Limjaroenrat Prime Minister, but the Constitutional Court has temporarily suspended him as an MP. It's accepted a case centering on his ownership of shares in a media company. Large parts of the Northern Hemisphere are continuing to swelter in exceptional heat. Red alerts warning of a high risk to health remain in place for most of Italy, Spain and Greece. In China, Beijing has registered a record 27 days of temperatures above 35 Celsius. The World Trade Organization has urged countries not to restrict food exports after Russia's withdrawal from a deal allowing grain shipments to leave Ukrainian ports. The head of the WTO said she was concerned some governments would begin hoarding supplies. Ukrainian cities, including the Black Sea port of Odessa, have again come under air attack overnight. The capital, Kiev, has also been targeted. There are no reports of casualties. A fire at a military base in Russian-occupied Crimea has caused 2,000 people to be evacuated. Unconfirmed reports suggest an ammunition depot at the facility was hit by a Ukrainian airstrike. Schools and businesses are closed in several Kenyan cities as protests get underway over tax and price increases. The opposition leader, Raila Odinga, has called the demonstrations. The annual rate of inflation in the United Kingdom fell in June to 7.9%, its lowest rate in more than a year. Overall, inflation in the UK is still the highest of G7 countries. A top Nigerian athlete says she's been charged with breaking anti-doping rules. Toby Amusan is the world record holder in the 100 metres hurdles. She said she would fight the charge. World News from the BBC.
The world in 2 minutes.
What's in a woman? Women carry a worth more prestigious than fine stones. We are landmarks of triumph and integrity, humility, beauty, God implanted power and poise. Women always have to be strong, for often our meekness is misconceived as weakness.
This woman's weakness is love.
Every Thursday, 11 to 11:45 a.m. The Woman's Diary on Planet Radio 101.1 FM. Don't miss it.
Are you empty and needs to be refilled with a fresh fire from the Holy Spirit? Join Reverend Patrick Grace Henry.
I am standing here because of your might and your almightiness. I am the demonstration of your power to save. I have tested you in the laboratory of your salvation with your grace and mercy, and suddenly there is health coming, and suddenly there is power coming. Yes.
Every Wednesday on Grace and Inspiration, and be inspired with great gospel songs, powerful prayer moment, and life-changing word of God. 10 to 12 noon on the Epic Grace Center, Planet 101.1 FM.
Boss, in 20 seconds, sharply young me 5 correct things where Samsung customer service get to offer. 1. Samsung get 24 months manufacturer warranty on top all in products where person buy for any authorized stores and dealers for Obodo Naija. 2. Samsung Care Plus. This na screen repair cover. We go do up to 12 months. You go need to register for free within 30 days after you buy. 3. Na verified WhatsApp channel where they put to make you fit chat with Samsung customer service them for sharp answer. 4. Na the Samsung authorized service centers where they across the country to help with your Samsung products. And the final one na free delivery and installation of TVs, washing machine, refrigerators, and air conditioners where you buy for Lagos and Abuja. Now so if you for more information on Samsung customer service, check our Instagram page at Samsung_Nigeria. Email us for ngservice@samsung.com and call us for free or WhatsApp on 0800 726 7864 0800 Samsung.
Well, glad to welcome you back. This is still the People's Parliament coming to you live on Planet 101.1 FM. You're revolving around you. Today on the floor of the Parliament, we started with the outcry by Governor Pastor Umo Eno on the influx of politicians to the Hilltop Mansion. Of course, obviously to scuttle favor and seek the ears of the governor, particularly as the state governor is yet to constitute its members, the members of the people who will be forming the team who will be working hand in hand with him to ensure that Akwa State is taken to the next level. And of course, we also touched down on the hike in petroleum price, which of course has hit 670 naira per litre in some states, and of course with Anambra recording 700 naira per litre as at this morning. And concerns from Nigerians have continued to react to it. We have the NLC, the TUC, and Nigerians criticizing President Ahmed Bola Tinubu for the taken decision of fuel subsidy removal. And of course, President Bola Tinubu says actions on palliative moves to review plans and reactions to concerns from Nigeria. And the last Chief of Defense Staff, General Christopher Musa, speak on plans to solve Nigeria's security. Now, we've talked about the very first and 2 motions, and of course, extensively dwelt on the 3rd motion. As a parliamentarian, you can be part of our discourse before we jump in to the last motion. Good morning, parliamentarian. Welcome to the plenary. Hello, parliamentarian. Sorry, I have to let you go. We lost connection there with you. Can barely hear you. Good morning, parliamentarian. Welcome to the plenary. Welcome. Thank you very much, parliamentarian. Until we rise up and, of course, return to God, that call is a call that we cannot overstress its importance. And, of course, when people begin to return to God, they will have the moral compass to be able to transact business in the right way and not exploit fellow acquired minds and parliamentarians and Nigerians. Hello, good morning. Welcome to the plenary. Hello, good morning.
Yeah, good morning, Mr. Speaker.
Welcome, parliamentarian.
Good morning. This is Akwa from Prince Akwa.
You have the floor.
Mr. Speaker, I would like to say today topic or discuss in the other paper how the same relationship with each other. Firstly, I will talk about hike in fuel prices. Madam Speaker, I think to me, I would like here to give suggestion. The federal government need to unbundle NNPCL, or scrap them out. Give IOC license to and refine our products and sell it locally to our people. IOC, we have a lot of IOC here. They can do that. Give them the license. Let them operate and refine the products. While some percentage can be exported outside the country. Very simple. So when you say, we are doing the federal government wants to build refinery, we cannot manage refinery, leave it out to the IOC. Because going for prices like this can trigger insecurity problem that the army chief is trying to address now. This indication can show that there is a problem, insecurity problem, because people are not comfortable again with the democracy we were looking for. This one is not sponsored by military. It's just the policy of the civilians. The military people are buying in the same market with us. They have relatives. I am also a relation with the military. So they know our hardship, they know our pains. So when the people now feel to support military, the civilians should not argue with us, should not blame us. So they should do the needful now that is not getting out of hand. That's my own opinion. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
All right, thank you very much, parliamentarian. Hello, good morning. Welcome to the plenary.
Hello?
Yes, good morning, parliamentarian.
Yes, good morning. Please, I want to say something about the soaring price of the premium motor student. I want to go on the federal government to get state of emergency on that UNS. And not to allow marketers to enjoy the monopoly of subs. No matter how many are the marketers, and no matter how many any of the people who deal with petroleum that would stop this crime. So what I'm saying is the government should declare a state of emergency so that the monopoly of marketers will be greater. And also, the government should set up a branch control units. They can even explain the communities or even the commuters who are the beneficiaries of this human motor spirit. The government should also tell them to be ranking on their board how much and when are the prices to be adjusted. They should show authority of adjusting the price, pump price. Thank you. I am Chief Ibom from Edet.
All right, welcome very much, Parliamentarian Chief. We appreciate your contributions this morning, and of course, very valid concerns you have raised, Chief Effiong Umo. We truly appreciate you. But let's head back to more commentations from parliamentarians. Hello, good morning. Welcome to the plenary.
Hello, good morning, Mr. Speaker.
Good morning, parliamentarian. Could you please speak up so we can hear you? Your voice is a little bit under the weather.
Okay, Mr. Speaker. My name is Eno Decries. I'm calling from the
Welcome.
Thank you very much. Mr. Speaker, it's very, very hard for you. Here, as I am now, I am in a station now and to buy for now. What the most important thing is that the people, the station owners doesn't have, they are not God fearing, no corrupt. We are very, very challenging how we are buying for at the rate of 6.15 now, and the owners are not even fearing what people are facing. They are telling you, they are like, as I'm standing
Thank you very much, Parliamentarian. Well, that raises a concern and goes back to what we've been advocating for, the rise or the awakening of consciousness by returning to God, and every one of us growing a conscience, because most times what problems we face in Nigeria are caused by Nigerians themselves. I mean, there are people who had stocked this petroleum product long before yesterday, but then, upon hearing that the NNPC has increased its price, they also increased theirs. So what is the justification for that? Good morning, Parliamentarian. Welcome to the plenary. Hello, good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Speaker.
Welcome.
Thank you for having me. Are you hearing me?
Yes, loud and clear. You have the floor, Parliamentarian.
Yes, Mr. Speaker. It is very sad that Nigerians are going through what we are going through at the moment in regards to the increment in the price of petroleum product. Mr. Speaker, it exposes the hypocrisy in the true Nigerian man. Mr. Speaker, in 2012, we remember when Jonathan wanted to remove subsidy and put the price of fuel at 120 naira. I saw then the gold cargoes coming out to protest that Jonathan cannot do that. But these are the same people increasing the price of fuel under 2 months by over 200 naira. Over 500 naira in 2 months. Mr. Speaker, this is sad. This is very sad. Why did they protest them? That means that exposes the hypocrisy in them. Embedded in them, Mr. Speaker. This is a call to Nigerian youths. It wasn't like this. I remember my father used to tell me, even before you graduate from the university in their days, companies, ministries will be canvassing, looking for you to employ. People were being forced to work in government facilities. But today, the case is not the same. They are impoverishing Nigeria with active poverty. Mr. Speaker, this is a call to all Nigerians. Are we going to watch, sit down, put our hands and watch this whole nation destroy our future? It is anathema that Nigerians, we are facing what we are facing, Mr. Speaker. This is what majority of Nigerians expected of this administration. We didn't expect this of this administration. Mr. Speaker, I call on Nigerian youths. Let us converse. I have started an advocacy online. We are going to converse. We are going to first engage government positively to see how they can reduce the price of fuel so that things can normalize in Nigeria. Nigerians are suffering, and in the next 1 month, if fuel is stabilized at 600 naira, Mr. Speaker, majority of Nigerians will fall into abject poverty. This is not good for Nigerians. Look at how we have been laughed at before the international community. Mr. Speaker, this is not what we should put our hands and be watching. Nigerian youth, please, I call on you. Our future should not be destroyed by the same people that have enjoyed their youthful age and turn around to enjoy their old age and impoverish the youth again.
All right, thank you very much, Parliamentarian. Calling on Nigerian youths to rise up and engage with government officials to ensure that what needs to be done about fuel subsidies done is definitely something that has been spoken about by many parliamentarians this morning, and the streets of Twitter and social media platforms have been filled with different comments and concerns from Nigerians, particularly the youth gather, as to what needs to be done in order to engage relevant government agency to ensure that the right move is made. Well, a lot of also appreciated the recalling of the planned 8,000 naira palliative sum that was announced by President Bola Tinubu. But then all eyes are still fixed on the presidency to see what the outcome of the review will be like. We'll take some more comments before heading back to our Facebook page. Good morning, parliamentarians. Welcome to the plenary. Welcome.
You are talking about marketers who hold the free station. It's not even talking about NLPC, which have never imported fuel since April this year. And they increased their price to 500 or something, 600 or something. Since April, NLPC have never ever imported any in Nigeria. The old one, we are still selling that, and that's they are really put money. Nigeria is a very big in terms, because Nigeria since after 60 is like a bad children. When their father leave many abandoned property, and the children grow up and sell all those properties out. Our leaders built three or four refineries for us. But those refineries now are no longer functional. We take our crude oil outside and sell the crude oil and buy Akwa and bring it to Nigeria and increase the price and tell us they are refining. And my farmer, like a farmer who farm cassava, sell raw cassava in the market and go use the money and buy gari and the fufu for other people and bring out to the house and telling the children that the things are very difficult. And they have the raw cassava that you can take to me or take to somewhere and do yourself the gari or the fufu. And you went and sell the raw cassava and go and buy gari and the fufu for other people to come and home and begin to complain to your children. So we are in trouble. We just need prayer for God to from hand of this our deceivers who call us themselves leaders. So that is my take this month. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for joining us. Nigeria is definitely in a challenging situation. Many have said it's in trouble, like the last parliamentarian said. But then, how do we get out of this troubling scenario? That's the problem. That's the question. That is the solution that Nigerians all need. And it's an all-comers affair. Hello, good morning. Welcome to the plenary. Good morning, parliamentarian.
Yeah, I came in the Obama I'm JMC forever.
Welcome.
We don't need to lament. Everybody is time now. Return back to your Mecca. Then you see what it's going to do. You know, Gideon just went to the bush to go and find what to eat. And within his heart, he said, God, why are things like this? That was the solution of the problem. Then we ought to know what to do. Not to even complain. If you have to complain at all, call on God who created all of us. And we have a Father. In the whole the honor. Heaven and earth belongs to him. So it's not a matter of going, being a general overseer, but return back to God and then do the right thing. I assure you, no devil can rule Nigeria again. Enough is enough. People are...
Of course, returning to the Lord and doing the right thing are very sacrosanct. These two are one and the same thing. If people are able to walk in moral consciousness, they have the moral compass that detects them and help them take right decisions and know when they are going wrong, definitely will see a better, healthier society. Parliamentarian Sikania on our Facebook page says, good morning, Mr. Speaker, and the parliamentarians. Nigeria should have been a country with at least 20 refineries that would have made us better country like Norway. If a single person like Dangote can build a refinery, what about a country called Nigeria? Parliamentarian Odogu Felix Atom says, I'm particularly happy and want to commend the member representing Refong Orugo State Constituency, Honorable Precious Selam, for drawing the attention of the Assembly and State to the long-abandoned Okosi Mukweyokan Road by the NDDC. I sincerely do hope that respite will come our way and the road and bridge completed ASAP, because it has become a serious menace. Good morning, Mr. Speaker and all parliamentarians. All right, thank you, Parliamentarian Odogu Felix, for joining us on the floor of the People's Parliament. And still on the Facebook page, we still have a lot more comments where Parliamentarian Didion Obiak says, Mr. Speaker, good morning, parliamentarians. Let me agree in totality with Nigerians that the president has deviated from what it should be. From what it should be. He started well and as we speak is directionless. You have saved 400 billion naira in 30 days. And where is the money? Nothing to show. We have not heard that there is a site cleared for a refinery to be built. I think the only option is to protest, same like in the period of answers. It should not take us for granted, as we'll not take these anymore. God bless Nigeria. Well, protest is within the Constitution. Peaceful protest is within the confines of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria for its citizens to lay their complaints and make their grievances felt. But then we should not also look forward to that moment where we get to take to the streets anymore, because, it is actually ideal for us to continue to engage government in conversations. And let's not also forget the scenarios that played out during the NSAS protest, as we never want a repeat of that. But we do hope with the moves taken by President Ahmed Bola Tinubu that is listening to the cries of Nigerians, and the review of the palliative would actually speak forward what technocrats and seasoned concerned Nigerians have put forward. President, Parliamentarian Architect Chris Senior says, good morning, Mr. Speaker. I don't know the words that can be used to describe the overall insensitivity and insincerity and the inhumanity of this APC government since their inception. The lack of vision and direction And back here in Akwa State, please, our governor should not be weak and inactive in dealing with issues. Let us not have any cause of regretting having him as governor. He should be active and acting promptly in saving her citizens. Thanks, Mr. Speaker. Many thanks for joining us, parliamentarian. And of course, we'll take the last comments coming from Parliamentarian Gabriel Udobasi. Actually says, Mr. Speaker, good morning. Concerning the subsidy removal and the subsequent hike in price of PMS, Nigeria should understand that the prices of petroleum is no more fixed or regulated by government but by market forces. This is a good development to encourage competition despite the present difficulty. This present situation is likened to a surgical operation to remove an infirmity. Though it hurts, but soon as gonna be okay. I disagree with people asking government to build more refineries. In the 21st century, government has no business in businesses. Government business can't succeed in Nigeria. We are too corrupt. Well, if you're generalizing that Nigerians are all corrupt, that is actually taking it out of context and in the wrong direction. We have decent Nigerians across board, from the Nigerian citizens to the Nigerian leaders, so that is completely out of context. We'll take one last call before we draw up our conversation this morning. Good morning, parliamentarians. Welcome to the plenary.
Mr. Speaker.
Yes, good morning, parliamentarian. You'll be concluding our conversations. Go ahead.
Yes, I am Imo calling this morning. Mr. Speaker, I want to talk about the sudden increment of the petrol affecting Nigeria. You see, Nigerian government, the way they are doing things, they put the cart before the horse. How can you remove fuel subsidy without putting things in place? You first of all put things in place, reform our refinery. Let the modular refinery work. Allow our main refinery to work. By that, we will use our oil, refine it here, and we will sell it here at the cheaper rate. Probably at least 100 naira. You are now leaving that particular aspect as if you don't know what to do. In fact, children in the kindergarten will be telling government this kind of idea. Government will be leaving such things and go and talk about palliatives, looking for ways to eat money. Is it how to handle Nigerian problem? You first of all tackle the problem through the roots. They are looking for a way in order to increase the problem. Look at how situation is going on now in this country. So sad that we have a leader and they are not thinking right. What is the difference with their thinking with the thinking of the small children?
All right, parliamentary, I'm afraid we have to converse our conversations here, but thank you for joining us. We truly appreciate your contribution. Indeed, a lot of concerns on the part of Nigerians, all of them valid, all of them taken in the right direction, and the government of President Ahmed Bola Tinubu needs to rise to the occasion of proffering solutions to the fuel subsidy crisis after he's announcing the era of subsidy is gone. Nigerians are looking forward to see what the review of the palliative will be, if it will align itself to the preferring of solutions by technocrats and well-meaning Nigerians who have written to the president. And of course, they're also advocating for marketers and people to have conscience and grow a heart and do business within the moral compass that orders each and every right-thinking person. Francis Oyima, Edet is my name, the Speaker of the People's Parliament through your mandate. Thank you very much, parliamentarian, for joining us on the Facebook page, via the phone lines, and of course listening online, leaving your comments and contributions. Truly appreciated. Wishing you a rewarding Wednesday experience. Remember to be a law-abiding citizen of Akwa Ibom State, the Federal Republic of Nigeria, and continue to pray for our country, our states, and our leaders. Bye-bye.
Just